Most of what you call a problem is not the thing in front of you. It is the story you attach to it. And that story, often invisible, often inherited, quietly decides whether you break or whether you become stronger. Here is the promise. If you stay with me, you will not simply learn about Stoicism. You will gain a way to convert fear into clarity, failure into instruction, pain into discipline, and uncertainty into a steady kind of freedom. Not a freedom that depends on perfect circumstances, but one that survives imperfect ones. The ancient Stoics did not offer comfort. They offered construction materials. They built inner strength out of whatever life threw at them because they trained themselves to see problems differently. The hard truth is that life will not become gentle because you are good, careful, or sincere. It will not negotiate with your plans. It will interrupt, disappoint, and occasionally devastate. And if you are waiting to feel safe before you live with courage, you will postpone your life indefinitely. But notice the quiet reversal. The goal is not to eliminate adversity. The goal is to stop being surprised by it. Stoicism begins where many modern habits end, by telling you that peace is not the absence of disturbance, but the ability to remain whole inside it. This is not denial. It is not coldness. It is a disciplined intimacy with reality. Consider a modern scene. You wake, reach for your phone, and before your feet touch the floor, you are already behind. Messages, headlines, someone else's success. A reminder that you missed something, forgot something, are not enough. Your body is in your bedroom, but your mind is scattered across 100 small alarms. The external world has not harmed you, not yet, but your interpretation has already started a fire. The hard truth is that anxiety is often loyalty to a fantasy of control. We suffer not only because events are difficult, but because we demand that they be different. We demand that life obey the script in our head. Stoicism asks for a different kind of loyalty, loyalty to what is actually happening. That shift is subtle and severe. Epictetus, born into slavery, made a clean division that still cuts through modern confusion. Some things are up to you, and some are not. Your judgments, your aims, your choices, these belong to you. Your reputation, your timing, other people's moods, the market, the weather, the past, these do not. We say we understand this, and then we spend years living as if we do not. Imagine you are passed over for a promotion. You can feel the humiliation rising because you interpret it as a verdict on your worth. The Stoic response is not to pretend it doesn't hurt. The Stoic response is to relocate the center of gravity. If your worth is decided by an external decision, you have handed your peace to a committee. If your worth is decided by your character, your fairness, your competence, your discipline, your courage, then disappointment becomes information, not annihilation. The hard truth is that many people do not want freedom. They want a guarantee. But a guarantee would require a world that never changes and people who never surprise you. Stoicism offers something harder and better, resilience without guarantees. Here comes another reversal. We think strong people are those who feel less. The Stoics thought strong people are those who feel clearly without being ruled. To be ruled by emotion is to be dragged. To be guided by reason is to choose your direction even while the wind is loud. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor with wars at the border and illness in his home, wrote private notes to himself like a man trying to remember what matters. He did not write, "Nothing hurts me." He wrote, in effect, "If it hurts, let it teach me what is in my control." That is the alchemy, not removing pain, but extracting meaning and discipline from it. Take something ordinary, an argument with someone you love. The modern reflex is to win, to prove, to punish with silence or sharpness. The Stoic reflex is to ask, what is my aim here, victory or virtue? If you choose virtue, the argument becomes a training ground. You practice patience, clarity, self-respect. You may still set boundaries. You may still say no, but you do not abandon your own standards because you are provoked. The problem becomes a mirror. It shows you the places where you are still reactive, still hungry for control over another mind. The hard truth is that other people will misunderstand you, and some will misrepresent you. If your identity depends on being correctly perceived, you will live defensively. You will edit yourself into someone unrecognizable, and still it will not work, because you cannot control what they see. The reversal is to treat reputation as weather. You prepare for it, but you do not worship it. Seneca, who lived amid political danger and social performance, warned that a person can become a slave to applause. The Stoic does not reject praise out of bitterness. He simply refuses to build a self out of something he cannot hold. Picture the practical application. You receive criticism, fair or unfair. The non-Stoic part of you wants immediate relief, to argue, to justify, to attack back. Stoicism asks for a pause that feels almost unnatural in the moment. Not a passive pause, but an active one. Is this true? If it is true, I can improve. If it is false, it cannot touch my character unless I cooperate with it. Either way, I can choose my response. In that small space, the problem stops being a threat and becomes material. The hard truth is that pain will visit your life, and it will not ask permission. There will be loss. There will be illness. There will be endings that do not feel poetic. A philosophy that cannot stand in the presence of pain is not a philosophy. It is a decoration. The Stoic reversal is not pain is good. Pain is not good. But pain is usable. This is not romantic, it is practical. When you cannot change what hurts, you can still decide what it will produce in you. Bitterness or depth, collapse or capacity, resentment or refinement. Think of a difficult morning when your body is tired, your mind is fogged, and the day demands more than you feel you have. The Stoic does not wait to feel inspired. He begins by doing the next right thing, and he treats that as a vote for the person he intends to be. Strength, in this view, is not a personality trait. It is a practice repeated so often that it becomes reliable. The hard truth is that comfort can weaken you without your noticing. It does so politely. It makes you allergic to inconvenience. And then, when real difficulty arrives, it feels intolerable, not because it is impossible, but because you have not trained. So Stoicism trains quietly, sometimes with deliberate discomfort, a cold shower, a simple meal, an intentionally modest day, not as punishment, but as rehearsal. Not because suffering is noble, but because dependence is fragile. When you learn that you can tolerate less, you stop fearing the loss of more. If this is resonating, take a moment to subscribe and leave a thoughtful comment about the hardest situation you're trying to face with clarity right now. Not to perform strength, but to name the training you're in. That simple act can turn a private struggle into a conscious practice. And now we move deeper, because the most difficult problems are not always external. Often they are internal, the fear you cannot quite explain, the restlessness that follows you even into good circumstances, the sense that you are always about to fall behind your own life. The hard truth is that fear does not disappear by being ignored. It disappears by being examined. Fear feeds on vagueness. It thrives in the fog of what if. Stoicism does not argue with fear by promising safety. It answers fear with precision. What exactly is at stake? What is truly mine to lose? What is within my power right now? The reversal is that fear can become a compass. If you trace fear carefully, you often find a value underneath it. You fear failure because you value competence. You fear rejection because you value belonging. You fear uncertainty because you value stability. Stoicism does not mock these values. It refines them. It tells you, pursue what you value, but do not make your peace dependent on outcomes you cannot command. Consider a practical example. You are about to have a difficult conversation, asking for what you need, admitting a mistake, ending something that should end. Your nervous system begs you to postpone. Stoicism offers a clear bargain. You can choose the pain of avoidance now and the greater pain later, or you can choose the pain of integrity now and the relief of self-respect later. This is not dramatic heroism, it is mature arithmetic. The hard truth is that many people confuse busyness with purpose. They fill their days with motion so they do not have to face the question underneath, what am I actually living for? Without meaning, even success becomes a kind of exhaustion. The reversal Stoicism offers is that meaning is not something you find like a hidden object. It is something you practice like a virtue. The Stoics spoke of living according to nature, which in modern terms can sound vague, but the lived essence is sharp. Live according to what is highest in you: reason, conscience, the capacity to choose the honorable action even when it costs you. Here is how that enters ordinary life. You are tempted to turn a corner at work because no one will notice, or to speak cruelly because you feel justified, or to betray your own health because you are stressed. Stoicism asks a question that rearranges the room. What kind of person do I become when I do this? Problems, in this light, are not merely obstacles to comfort. They are tests of identity. They show you whether your principles are real or merely spoken. The hard truth is that you will not always feel motivated to be wise. You will not always feel calm enough to be kind. You will not always feel strong enough to be disciplined. If your ethics depend on mood, they will vanish precisely when they are most needed. The Stoic reversal is that virtue can be independent of mood. You can be anxious and still be honest. You can be angry and still be fair. You can be grieving and still dignified. Stoicism does not demand that you become emotionless. It demands that you remain responsible. Imagine you are stuck in traffic, late, watching minutes drain away. The modern mind treats this as theft. Something is being taken from you. The Stoic mind treats it as a lab. You have been given a small, sharp opportunity to practice patience, to stop rehearsing rage, to accept what cannot be changed, and to govern what can: your attention. If that sounds minor, remember that most of life is minor moments repeated. Character is built there, not in the speeches you give yourself at midnight. The hard truth is that the mind is an excellent servant and a terrible master. Left unchecked, it will replay insults, invent catastrophes, and drag the future into the present like a burden you are not meant to carry all at once. The reversal is that inner peace is not a gift, it is a discipline of attention. When the Stoics spoke about judgment, they were pointing to the engine of suffering. You are not disturbed only by events, but by your appraisal of them. That does not mean you can simply decide to be happy. It means you can learn to question your first interpretation. You can learn to see the space between stimulus and response and to live in that space with dignity. A modern example is the way we consume news and opinion. The world presents endless reasons to feel powerless. Stoicism does not ask you to be indifferent to suffering. It asks you to be effective. If you cannot act, do not indulge the illusion that constant outrage is action. If you can act, act without needing applause. This, too, is freedom. The freedom to care without being consumed, to help without being hollowed out. The hard truth is that death is not a philosophical topic. It is a fact that shapes every hour you waste and every truth you delay. We fear thinking about it because it feels dark. But ignoring it does not extend life. It only makes life less deliberate. The Stoic reversal is that remembering mortality can make you gentler and braver at once. The Stoics practiced memento mori not to become grim, but to become awake. If this day is not guaranteed, then your anger becomes expensive. Your procrastination becomes tragic. Your petty pride becomes absurd. And your capacity to choose becomes sacred. Picture the practical transformation. You stop waiting to live until you feel perfectly ready. You call the person you keep meaning to call. You apologize without performing. You begin the work that matters even if it is imperfect. You let go of the need to be seen as flawless because time is not impressed by your image. The hard truth is that the world will continue to be uncertain. Even your best plans will sometimes break. You will still feel fear. You will still feel pain. Stoicism does not promise a life without storms. It promises a way to stop drowning in them. And here is the final reversal, the one that makes the whole philosophy feel less like an ancient doctrine and more like a private strength. The obstacle is not merely something to overcome. It is the material from which your strongest self is made, not by magic, by choice, by repetition, by the quiet decision again and again to meet reality without flinching and to respond without surrendering your values. If you can control your judgments, you can control your life in the only sense that matters. You cannot command outcomes, but you can command the quality of your participation. You can be honest when lying would be easier, calm when anger would be cheaper. It is the material from which your strongest self is made, not by magic, by choice, by repetition, by the quiet decision again and again to meet reality without flinching and to respond without surrendering your values. If you can control your judgments, you can control your life in the only sense that matters. You cannot command outcomes, but you can command the quality of your participation. You can be honest when lying would be easier, calm when anger would be cheaper, steady when panic would be contagious. You can refuse to be reduced to reaction. The problems will keep coming. That is not pessimism. It is loyalty to reality. But now the problems arrive in a different world, a world where they are not only burdens, but invitations, each one asking a simple question.